Good day, everyone. Greetings, 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 and welcome to the DV Connector Network. I, my first name is Kaylin, and my last name is Kendall Dines. And I just want to welcome you on behalf of our team to this webcast. We are the DV Connector Network. And, I'll start by saying what that is a group of people who have come together in the name of learning, in the name of being inspired and uplifting and connecting. And so DV stands for Divine Visions. And what we want in this space that we've created, we met before the pandemic. We're not a nonprofit. We're a group of people from different places and spaces, from different backgrounds, from different industries, but we come together and unite in hopes of uplifting one another. In this space, what we want is we want each of you to thrive. We want each of you to have a space to come to where it's family, it's community. And we also want to bring together like-minded people in hopes that what you will see and experience, that if it benefits you or somebody else, that you will share and spread the word. In the past year, we had a theme, and that theme was be the captain of your own vessel. And so what we're doing in this year is expanding on that theme. And so, as you have seen with the invitation that you received, we were looking at securing our legacy through Ujamaa. Now, someone's going to come and talk to you about what that means in this particular space. Again, we want you to thrive and we want you to feel comfortable. This space, we call it the virtual living room, if you will. It's a space to share. It's a space where you'll hear from some experts who are going to share their visions, share their stories, share their expertise with you in hopes that it will help you and that you will help others. So one thing I would just want to say is you're here for a reason and a purpose. And I also want to say you belong right where you are with us. I also want to mention and I want to say thank you to Andrew Frazier, who continuously allows us to come into this space. And Andrew Frazier is someone who he's the CFO of the Small Business Pro. He's a small business coach. He's a consultant and trainer, and he'll tell us more about Small Business Pro University. And so he has consistently hosted this webcast with us and for us. So thank you, thank you, thank you, as always, Andrew. We have other members of the team who you'll meet throughout this webcast. And I have to say, it's now time for me to turn it over to someone who many of you know. Don Viapre, how do I describe Don? He's a former government affairs and telecommunications executive. His reach is global, and he has so many mentors, too many to count, I'm sure. But he's able to tap into his global network to positively influence change for so many of us. And he's in this space, the founder of the DV Connector Network. Don, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a bit about this theme, not just be the captain of your own vessel, the overarching theme, but really the securing our legacy through Ujamaa, because we know and we believe it's important to build wealth. And when we think about wealth, many of us may think of it from a monetary standpoint. There are so many other areas and things that we plan to cover within the umbrella of this theme. So again, I welcome you. I thank you for joining us. And it is my pleasure now to pass the microphone over to our very own Dr. Don Viapre. Don, the microphone is yours.
Thank you so much, Kaylin, and I want to really extend my gratitude to you and to Doreen and to Andrew for carrying the water, so to speak, to ensure that these precious webinars that are packed with information are organized and then are coordinated and rolled out as they are. So welcome to everyone today. Today is the day when we're going to discuss securing our legacy through Ujamaa. It comes from the Swahili language, Ujamaa. It means cooperative or collective economics. It was brought into fruition by the late President Nyerere, who was the first president when Tanzania became independent. And it means that we need to pull together and we need to share with one another and we need to communicate with one another and we need to grow with one another by gathering our resources for the benefit of each other. And so it is really engendering self-reliance, but also engendering cooperative reliance. So I want to step back by allowing us to think and to ponder and to meditate for a moment that as inhabitants of Earth, of this planet, which is a very nano speck in the entire cosmos, which is a real piece of real estate, some of which is covered, most of which is covered in water, and the rest of it is land. So we have an opportunity as humans to fester and advance humanity. For so many centuries, it's always been a struggle with nature and a struggle with persons. And in this struggle, this dual struggle, we have a responsibility to nature, and we also have a responsibility to the persons around us. And so Ujamaa is the perfect way in which we can sort of advance ourselves and advance humanity at the same time respectfully. I want to note that since it is something that is stemming from our ancestors, I want to take a moment, as we do in all of our webinars, to just remember all of those who are no longer with us. Just a few days ago, we lost one of our mentees, Sean Wesley Jenkins. And so we add him to our roster of ancestors. So I ask you to just reflect for a moment and let's have some silence as we remember all those who are no longer with us. Thank you. In furtherance of the discussion that we're about to have, I also want to extend to you that in reflection, we've always had resistance to whatever it is that we wish and have to achieve. And when we seek in this discussion to deal with the acquisition, the securing of our legacy through Ujamaa, we will this year, 2023, be talking about or financial health, the blueprint for which to leave a legacy behind for the children and for those who are yet to be born. But to do so responsibly instead of irresponsibly. And so going back again into history, there is an inscription on some of the temples in Egypt, and it says, "Know thyself." 2 words, and they're very significant because if you understand what it means to know thyself, then you have a pathway in which to do what you have to do as a human. And know thyself relates to identity. Who are you? Who am I? What is my loyalty? To whom am I loyal? What are my ancestral responsibilities? And what is my understanding of the sacrifices that my ancestors have made so that I can continue to work the blueprint that they left behind? So know thyself allows you to move forward, but at the same time, expect resistance. Because wherever there's action, there will be reaction. And so today, as we look around us, all over the world, our people are catching hell, but we're catching hell because, as many experts say, we have no power to leverage, because powerless as we are economically, we're also powerless politically. We have silos of power. We have silos of uncoordinated wealth, but Ujamaa is a method and a means through collective and cooperative economics to pull together to become self-reliant. Only until we acquire the economic power are we going to be able to get political power. And so this discussion that kicks off 2023 and the further discussions is really how individuals such as us can acquire first, secure, protect, and pass on the legacy through Ujamaa. I'd like to now get to Andrew, my friend Andrew Frazier, who is hosting us in the virtual living room. And Andrew has, through the years, worked very diligently and closely with me. He is the Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of Small Business Pro University. Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon or evening, if that's the case as well. Thanks again for having me, Don, and I welcome everyone once again. Don has had an impact on so many people, and excited about what we're here doing with the DV Connector Network, building relationships. And one of the key things about building relationships and being able to work together and connect together, as Don said for Ujamaa, you have to know each other. So you have to interact, you have to get to know each other, you have to spend time together. The first time you meet somebody, it's hard to do business or trust and get to know them. So, having these quarterly is really helpful. And, excited that was able to share part of my Small Business Pro University to give us an opportunity to interact and connect even further in between sessions. So we created the DV Connector Network online community. So many of you have joined thus far, and if you're not a member yet, invite you to join. I'll just take 1 second to show you what it is and what it looks like, just so you can have a feel for it. So I'm going to put a link in the chat, which is going to take you here where you can register, and you get access to some of the courses I have on the university as well. And you get access to the DV Connector Network, some of what it's all about, what it stands for, and there's no cost. So it's free to access all that. And when you get in the network, you have access to the overall network of the Small Business Pro University, but you also have access to a private network for the DV Connector Network. So you have access to get to know who people are, so you can put a profile in. You can actually chat with people, so you can send them a message. We have posts, so if you want to get to know the panelists a little better, we've got their bios in there, and we've got recordings of all the past DV Network presents. So it's a great resource. Take advantage of it. Thus far we have we have 28 members, and and growing. So excited to be part of it. Thanks again, Don and Kaylin. And I guess I'm turning it back over to Kaylin.
Yes, thanks, Andrew. Actually, Chike is next, but this gives me an opportunity to pause for a second and again say thank you one more time to each and every one of you for being here. And also, I just want to point out, in the spirit of cooperative economics, we have some experts who are going to share their, like I said, vision, share their expertise in this space. And what they're also going to do is to share, we're going to share, make sure you can connect with them after this webcast ends. We'll put that information in the chat. They're going to introduce themselves. And I want to point out that they're doing it, and we do this at no cost. We ask you to come in at no cost. The speakers, nobody in this room is actually getting paid for this. But I just want to point out that the best part of it is, please grab what you can grab for yourself and pass on what you learn. And also feel free to share it. But if there's the chat there, if there's something that resonates with you, place it in the chat. If you have a thought, place it in the chat. If you have a question, please place it in the chat. Chike, I would like to turn the microphone over to you right now.
Peace, peace, peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, happy Saturday. I hope it's still Saturday where you're at, or I'm off. So this is really a blessing to be here in this room with all these amazing people. I see a bunch of people that I know in the chat, in the participants list. Dana, good morning. Mike, good morning. Medina, good morning. This is amazing. I'm actually excited because I feel like I'm the young gun in the room. You know what I'm saying? I'm like one of the youngest ones here, so I'm honored that wise people will be like, hey, we need Chike. All right, so I'm glad to be here. So I'm Chike Udoka. I'm the team's money guy. A lot of financial advisors helping adults. No shortage of financial advisors helping adults. I'm a financial advisor that talks to kids. And why do I talk to kids? Because it's vital to them that we teach kids how to build wealth, what wealth is, and what are the tools, the tips, and the tricks that they can use to build wealth starting at their age. So Ujamaa, right? Familyhood, the sharing of wealth and resources, right? And Don mentioned blueprint. So here's a question. What blueprint are we leaving our young people? What is the blueprint that we're giving them to be able to take the businesses that Andrew has helped us build, right? The real estate that Cardwell has helped us acquire, right? All these assets that we're creating and building, what is the point if we're giving it to our young kids and they just drop the ball, right? Because they're not talking about wealth and money in school. A lot of us are not talking about wealth and money in church, unfortunately, which I think is, we should be talking about it there. And most of these young kids today, all they're hearing at home about money is, no, we ain't got it, or no, you can't have it. And the challenge with that is we're not explaining to them why we ain't got it or why they can't have it. And so I think that there are so many opportunities for us to rewrite the blueprint that we have been giving them. You know, you're a child, stay out of money conversations in the house. You're a kid, go over there, right? Be seen, not heard, all these different things. And so I'm really certain that if we're gonna really build generational wealth, we must start from the foundation, and that's our young people. And so this is a dope talk, right? We know there's 4 ways to build wealth in this country, and if we're not exactly sure on what those are, I'll cover them, right? So 1 is business and entrepreneurship, right? 2, real estate and home ownership. 3, investment. And 4, life insurance. All right. And so we have some cool experts here. I'm a financial advisor. I help families, 1, get financial clarity, understand what their options are with insurance and investments, where they can put it, what happens to it when you put it there. And so I'm blessed and honored to be here to be able to talk from the life insurance and investments aspect of building wealth, how to pass it on. Because there's no point doing it if we ain't gonna give it to them and they actually do more with it than we did, right? And so that's my little intro. A couple of you know about me, a couple of you don't, but if you want to learn more about me, you can go to chikeuzoka.com and learn more about me. And the book I just shared is called The Team's Guide to Wealth, and that is at www.teamsguidetowealth.com. And so I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Cardwell so he can do his intro, so you can learn more about him and how he helps people get in a piece of this land. Because we know God is not making any more land, right? All right, so that's it. What we got now is it. So, Mr. Cardwell, welcome.
Thank you very much. And I'm very pleased that I was invited to participate in this, because to me, real estate is very important and working together is very important. I'll tell you, there's a saying, and I've been told it's an African saying, I don't know, but the saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I like that, and the idea of Ujamaa, us working together as a tribe, as a family. I like the whole idea. And I think that one of the things that we do have to understand as a tribe is the importance of owning real estate. Now me, I'm all about real estate. If you Google my name, you'll see there's at least a page on me about the different things I'm into. I'm an appraiser, I'm a realtor, I'm an investor, because I really believe in real estate. And as was said, they're not making it anymore. Owning real estate, you control a lot. And I think it's very important. As far as leaving a legacy, just with my family alone, I'm trying to get them to understand that you want to own as much land as possible, all right? And get into rentals. And I know I have family in the South as well as friends in the South, and they will inherit land, all right? So you say you have a relative in South Carolina or Tennessee pass away, the people that are living, they can't wait to sell that land and go buy a car or something. You know, it's like they're scheming. They're scheming. I can get a car out of this deal, as opposed to seeing it as an opportunity, as an economic opportunity for the family and for the generations to come. So I think that's the biggest challenge right now for me as I talk to people, especially people in my generation, as well as the younger generation. We're not really educated on the importance of, number one, the economics of owning real estate, how to acquire that real estate. And once you have the real estate, what to do with it, how to turn it into an investment that's going to last forever and ever. I meet so many people, and it's not just us. I was talking to a gentleman a couple of days ago. His aunt passed away, and this was a Jewish guy, which kind of surprised me because he didn't know what to do with his aunt's house. It was actually his grandmother's house, and the aunt ended up taking it over once grandma passed away. And when I brought up the idea that they could turn that into the first investment property, because he did indicate that he had thought about getting into real estate investing, but wasn't sure where to start. When I brought up the idea, well, use this as the first investment property for the family. He was shocked at the idea. And so there are a lot of people out there who don't understand how you can turn real estate into money and how you can turn real estate into a legacy for the family. The opportunity just basically to build wealth off of that. And that's what I'm about. That's really what I'm about. Each one teach one. So I'm looking forward to working with the group, putting our heads together to figure out how to help each other. As I said, we want to go far, go together. All right. That's what I have to share for right now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That is key. That is so key. And you are not only an investor for yourself and your family, you actually help people purchase their first property that could be their first rental property, right?
Oh, absolutely. I am a realtor. And of course, so yeah, definitely. We can talk about what is it that you're looking for and go from there. Personally, I like single families. I find multi-families are fine, but the problem is the tenants. You always have tenants that don't like each other. That causes problems. The next thing is where do you buy the property?
I for that. So there's cons. There's pros and cons to everything. The idea though is that if you never start, you'll never learn the pros and cons. And so at least get one, y'all. Let's start with one, and then we can talk about number 2, 3, 4, and get up to Cardwell's level of however many doors he has, right? But the point is to get started, y'all. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great, right? And so, so we talked a little bit about the life insurance investment, and of course, this is just the beginning of the conversation, but also business ownership and entrepreneurship. The idea of starting something from nothing and building it to this huge conglomerate that at some point you can pass on to future family members. I've known this guy for a super long time, and I'm proud to know him. So, Andrew, can you talk about how we use entrepreneurship, business ownership to pass on a legacy, right? Because I know Small Business Pro ain't gonna end with you.
Regular? I'll
Great.
just take.
Thanks, Chike and everybody, and excited to be here. Definitely I found that entrepreneurship is really one of the keys to being able to build wealth and create freedom. But like many other things, it's not easy. And most people are woefully unprepared when they start to do that. And as a result, they don't get the results that they could have. So I encourage you to look at entrepreneurship, but also build your education in entrepreneurship. And I think that goes for every piece of this. You should never do anything or invest in anything that you don't understand. So, encourage that. Having a business, is great experience, but sometimes, when you start out, it can be a challenge in that you may be making less money and working harder, but the payoffs can be great. And we'll talk, as we go a little bit more about really how you can do that successfully.
Awesome, thank you. And we have another speaker with us. She is the owner of Gray T Consulting, and she's going to introduce herself. Tara, welcome.
Thank you, Chike. And it's pronounced great. right? So it's a play on my last name of Gray and my first initial T. And I always end my sessions with why? Because you're great, right? So we go through a whole process. I am Tara Gray with Great Consulting CEO, and I also work a 9 to 5. So I actually help people transition from their 9 to 5 to entrepreneurial endeavors or wherever they'd like to go to combine with other businesses or to just develop themselves as a career professional. And then I go through the great process, right? So we start with G, your goal. What is your goal? What are you looking to do? Some people are looking for a promotion. Some people are looking to advance. Some people are looking to leave, right? And then we start with the R. What is your reality right now? Are you in line for a promotion? Are you, are you gaining ground by managing people? So we go over that part. And then we also talk about their A, right? What areas are concerning you? Do you need to build your LinkedIn profile? Are you technologically savvy? Are you aware of the next level in your career? If it's an attorney, an accountant. And then you have your why. What are you saying yes to? What are you saying yes to in your career or in your life? And that can be anything at this point. And then your T, we tailor a program so you can actually take my experience, which is vast, right? I went to Howard undergrad, Howard Law School. I didn't practice, but I work in the government, and I've worked corporate America. I've been in those C-suites where I'm the only female, only Black woman, the only young person. I mean, you go through it, you name it. I've been there. But that T tailors a program for your needs. And then within the midst of this process, I'm able to also bring businesses together. I'm working with a business right now in the US, at 2 businesses in the US to launch and leverage my connections internationally in various countries, including the UAE, Europe, Africa, you name it. So I am trying to leverage and leave a legacy, not only for my daughter, but for those I touch and for those that are around me. I had a conversation with Don recently, and we were talking about Ujamaa and cooperative economics and what it means in our mentality, but also how do we leave that legacy not only to our children, if you don't have children, but your community through real estate, like Cardwell said, Andrew, through business, and like Chike said, through wealth within the teenagers, learning about equity. Even when I help people negotiate their salaries, we're talking about as you move up the ladder, you have different compensation programs. Some people didn't know, okay, it's not just my healthcare benefit or, my dental, vision, and you name it, but you're getting gym memberships. You may have a car, you may have a phone, you may have equity. Like I said, you're a shareholder in the company, or you may become a partner. So some partners have to put up equity in order to gain that equity. So just managing that process and navigating through that process so we can actually leverage one another. And it starts with speaking to one another and communicating. I just moved down to North Carolina, so it's interesting, Cardwell, you talked about inheriting land. And I did, unfortunately, my parents passed early in life. They were in their 50s. But in North Carolina, we have a plot of land, a number of acres. So I said, okay, I just accepted a position as, I don't know if you all know about it, ECU Health down here in North Carolina is one of the largest healthcare providers. And they are in Greenville, North Carolina, which is only 45 minutes from where I inherited my land. So here I am, and I said, now I can watch the process and build, like you said, and make it the first investment property, or maybe live there and invest in my other property in DC, in the Maryland, Virginia area where I came from. So this is all so timely, and I will stop there so we will have time for questions and answers, but I'll put some more of my contact information. I do a little Tara's Tuesday tip on Instagram and Facebook, and we talk about corporate issues. How do you deal with racism? How do you wear your hair as a Black woman in corporate America? Little things like that people don't talk about. But that's me, and I'll turn it back over to Chike. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you so much. That is amazing. Being able to work with different types of businesses, different levels of business owners and entrepreneurs. And it's just vital that we are able to, one, know the resources that we have available to us to do the things that we want to do. And two, I'm gonna call it what it is. Sometimes, even when we are talking to a professional who is an expert in their field, sometimes we don't listen. It's like, you know, the toilet messed up and you call a plumber and the plumber come and say, hey, I think there's a toy in the thing. And you're like, no, I don't agree with you. You're like, all right, cool. You know, so we have to let our own experiences, pride, whatever it might be, put to the side so that when there is an expert, a professional that is giving us their advice and expertise based on what the information we're giving them, right? First, the information we're giving them, they're only giving it their advice and knowledge through the lens of the information we've told them. We gotta listen. And I think sometimes we just don't listen. I know me as a kid, even me now, sometimes I'm like, but if there's some, like, I'm gonna listen to Cardwell because he has levels of experience that I have never experienced in real estate. So if he's saying single families are best, and all my life I've been told never buy a single family, I'm gonna listen because he has a different level of expertise, he has a different experience than me. So who am I to be like, no, you're wrong? I don't know. There's a guy, actually, I'm glad you said that. There's a gentleman named Dr. Joe Asamoah in DC. All he does is single family properties. That's all he does. And he buys them as three bedroom houses, dilapidated, and he always adds 2 bedrooms to them. Why? Because in DC, voucher holders, Section 8, they pay $5,500 a month for a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And so he has over 40 properties in DC that are all bringing in $5,500 a month, and they're all single families. So who am I to be like, no, he should start doing multifamily? No, he's doing just fine, right? And so that's what I love about Don. Don always has the access to the coolest people with the dopest information, all the knowledge, and he's able to bring us together, whether it's in person at the Robert Retreat or it's online on Zoom, whatever it is, Don has the resources. So Don, we just appreciate you for not stopping, right? And keep going regardless of what's going on in the world. We love you, we appreciate you for that. So are there any questions that anyone has about anything related to life insurance, investments, real estate, business ownership, entrepreneurship, wealth in general, money in general? Please unmute. Feel free to unmute, introduce yourself, let us know where you're calling from, where you're joining from, and ask the question. Anyone? Don't be shy now. They say if you don't volunteer, you're gonna be voluntold. I don't want to start picking people out.
Well, can I share something? While people,
Yeah. Yeah.
go ahead, whoever had a question, go ahead.
Nah, that's you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to share, definitely pick up on what Chike is talking about. But maybe just share a little bit of my story, because I think it's an example of all of these things. And it's key to do things in the right way at the right time, know what you're doing and be prepared. And I was blessed to have a mom who was actually in the financial services business. She sold life insurance, one of the first Black women to do that and become a manager in Pittsburgh. And I had my first business in 4th grade, a paper route. And the first step to everything we're talking about today is being able to save. If you can't save, you're never going to have any wealth. You're never going to be prepared to make an investment. You're never going to be prepared to buy real estate, and you're never going to be prepared to have a business. So, first you have to have your foundation. The next piece, you buy investments. Actually, when I was a kid, it was kind of cool. From what I saved, I bought a bar of silver, 100 ounces, so I could walk around with a bar of silver, which, and I kept it probably till I was about 30 and cashed it in. So making investments, saving, and there's many ways to do that. The next piece is working. Generally, it's good to work before you start a business or buy real estate, because you learn a lot about working, you make money while working, and you can save money while working. And you get to learn while someone's paying you. What's better than that? And then you can take what you learn to do what you're going to do. As a result of my mom being in the business, I bought my first life insurance policy at 21, and I still have it today. It's got a cash value of about $30,000. So, starting early is very important. Having the most important financial decision that you could make, which we're not even talking about today, but it's probably several shows in itself, is who you marry. I got married at 23, so this is 30 years this year. But the best and the worst financial decision you can make is either marrying the right person or the wrong person, because that's going to dictate whether you can do any of these other things. If you get married, if you don't get married, then you don't have to worry about that. But, it's important. And, we bought our first house the year after, and we're still in the same house. So from there, we actually invested in real estate at 31, and then came into business 15 years ago. So, each of these is a step. Each of these things you got to prepare. And just, hopefully that journey gives you a little bit to think about and a better understanding. And if you have kids, that could be a good journey to put them on.
Yeah, that's key. We know we in America, and when you marry somebody, that is like a business contract. That, I love you too. But legally, that relation you started. And I know for me, being able to know I'm going to marry someone, yet at the same time, us individually taking that time to create our own assets, like I got a property, you got a property, before we get married, it helps if you have that opportunity to build individually and create your own assets individually while getting to the marriage phase. That is key, y'all. That is so key. And I talk to a lot of couples, younger and older, and you may not be able to buy two separate properties once you're married. There's different laws in different states and things like that. So just keep that in mind, that we know who you marry is vital to your success. And I know that two things. One, a man that finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor. That means the man is going looking for the woman. Okay, I didn't say it, I'm just sharing. And the second part is that a woman is supposed to be a helpmate. What does that mean? Man casts a vision, but we're not always the best at actually executing on that vision. And so that's where the woman is able to take that vision and make it real, right? And that's what women are wired to, take something and make it something else. And so when that union comes together, I promise you that is vital. And I'll share and this is not a happy stat, all right, but I'm gonna share it because it speaks to what Andrew just spoke about. So there's a book called The Conversation by a gentleman named Hill Harper. In that book, he shares a study that was done in 1968 and in 2008. And the study was white, Latino, and Black kids in America growing up in a two-parent household. White, Latino, and Black kids in America growing up in a two-parent household. And in 1968, y'all, white families, white kids growing up in a two-parent household was about 93%. Latino kids growing up in a two-parent household was about 89 or something like that percent. And I believe Black children in America growing up in a two-parent household in 1968 was around 87.5%. The same study was done 40 years later, y'all, 2008. White families, white kids growing up in a two-parent household had dropped to about 90%. Latino kids growing up in a two-parent household in America had dropped to about 87 or 86%. Black children in America growing up in a two-parent household in those 40 years, y'all, it dropped from like 85 or 87% down to 31%. That is crazy. And if we think that that doesn't have an effect on our generational wealth and passing on not just stories and experiences, but also passing on money, wealth, buildings, real estate, businesses, right? Assets, things that bring in money, it absolutely has an effect on that. And so I'm sharing that so that I'm just sharing because that's a big stat. And that was 2008, y'all. That was 15 years ago. All right, so I'm gonna let y'all marinate on that. So we do have folks that are raising their hand. Is it Shadera?
Yes, that's me. I'm Shadira. But I think Michael had his hand up first, so I think
I
he
know,
should go.
but that's okay. That's why I'm running the Zoom because I put you first. It's okay.
I've been voluntold, y'all. Okay. So I had a question, I guess, for the whole panel. I'm calling in from New York.
Okay, what do you do, Shadira?
I work at Mount Sinai. I'm a scheduling coordinator. So I help book appointments for patients. I help do their refills, just everything that has to do with getting them set up to see the doctor. That's basically what I do in the hospital. So I don't know how to describe my family. We don't have generational wealth. And I do come from, a single parent household. So this is all new to me, like building wealth, having those conversations. And I really appreciated what Andrew said about being educated before you kind of step into yourself and get into that mode of, okay, I want to start doing real estate or I want to start being an entrepreneur. So I guess this is, again, a question for everybody because I've never had those conversations with my family or with anybody really around me. What would be, I guess, a book or a lesson or some experience in your life that really helped you kind of solidify, I guess, something you learned while you were going through the process of building wealth that you would want to educate somebody else on that's just starting out?
Yeah, so I'll kick it off and then I'll pass it on. So 2 books that I think everybody should read. One is called What Would the Rockefellers Do? What Would the Rockefellers Do? And it talks about the idea, the blueprint of how John D. Rockefeller set up a structure to ensure the carrying on of his family's wealth, right? He didn't leave it to chance and hoping and praying. He left it to experts and legal documents. The fastest way, Shadira, I believe, in this country to close the racial wealth gap is paperwork. We don't do enough paperwork. We don't have wills. We don't have trust. We don't have LLCs. We don't have medical directives. We don't have power of attorneys. We don't have those documents that protect us, protect our assets, protect our family in case of death, in case of a coma. Those things happen to us. and we don't have the proper documentation to say, no, 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 this goes to the family trust. Nobody's touching it. Taxes, lawsuits, family members with bad spending habits. Y'all can't touch this. This is for the family. That's the first book. The second book is 7 Rules to Close the Racial Wealth Gap by, dang, I'm brain freeze. Hold on. 7 Rules to Close the Racial Wealth Gap by, his name is Eugene Mitchell. Eugene Mitchell. 7 Untold Rules for Black people, Black prosperity and legacy, right? Closing the racial wealth gap. That is an amazing book that Eugene talks about, and he's a financial advisor, very experienced, and he talks about the things that we need to educate ourselves on, but also the things that we need to set in place to make sure that we do that. And one of the fastest ways, the fastest way to close the racial wealth gap, to be honest, is life insurance. That it sounds crazy, but there's Black people dying every single day. And if we all had a life insurance policy, it'd be a lot different for the remaining family members, right? So I don't know who wants to take that question next. Cardwell?
Well, a couple of books that helped change my way of thinking, and Andrew may want to come in on these two. One is Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich definitely helped change my way of thinking. I thought in the beginning, I had a business, okay? No, actually, that's more towards the next one. But Think and Grow Rich actually changed my way of thinking and helped me understand how I should be carrying myself, how I should be thinking, and the importance, once again, of working in a group. One of the things I learned in Think and Grow Rich was a mastermind group. People coming together just like this, a mastermind group. All right, you don't hear so much people calling them that now, but there's so many groups, even on Facebook, where groups come together on Facebook or come together with various organizations and just help each other, advance the business, advance their life, or whatever. A mastermind group. Another one that, and once again, Andrew may want to talk about this one, is the E-Myth, the E-Myth Revisited. And E stands for entrepreneur or entrepreneurship. That's the one that made me realize, I'm thinking I have a business, and that made me realize, no, you don't have a business, you created a job. If you had a business, you could leave for a month and go tour Europe or something and come back and still be making money. My little real estate thing is a appraiser and as a realtor. If I didn't do anything for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, guess what? I had to start all over again. That's a job. And it just changed my thinking. Yeah, I'm self-employed. I don't have a business, I'm self-employed. Okay. And various things, but to me, those two books are very important. And they may even tie in to this organization, the Small Business Like a Pro organization. I don't know if it's one of the textbooks that you recommend or what, but they definitely helped change my thinking on that. So the E-Myth Revisited and Think and Grow Rich.
Excellent. So I guess I should come on after that. So I agree with your book. Well, actually, I have something to say about each book.
Okay, I thought you would.
And Chike, first, I went to business school with Eugene Mitchell. So it's funny that you mentioned it, but I haven't read his book yet. So now I need to get it and read it.
Oh, man. Read it.
Definitely. The Think and Grow Rich is great, but even better or in combination, there's a Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice by Dennis Kimbrough. And he's amazing. And his story in there, and he's interviewed all Black people. So, definitely. There's 3 books I have my clients read in business. First one's the E-Myth. Well, one of them's the E-Myth. The other one is How to Make Friends and Influence People. And even if you're not in business, it's Dale Carnegie. even if you're not in business, you need to read that and reread it every so often, because at the end of the day, success in life and business is about relationships. And Dale Carnegie's a master, and really helps you to be able to communicate with people and build the relationships you need to be able to collaborate. And people don't buy from people, or people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and that helps all of those things, for you to be able to, people to be better know you, better like you, and better trust you. Early, there's one, so you got the how to, for investments, what I always liked is The Wealthy Barber, especially if you're young. It's a great, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, the first one. You can learn useful stuff. And those are my main recommendations. And I'll put them in the chat as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to throw the titles in the chat, and if you guys just title in Google, you'll see the book and all that.
Yep.
Are there any, Tara, you just shared one. So Tiffany, the Budgetnista Aliche, has her latest book called Get Good with Money. That is
Yes.
an awesome book as well. Thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah.
And she's Newark Chrome, so we got to support. And
Correct.
then Andrew has a book, of course. I got a book. So let's start with us, and then no, but are there any other books that anyone wants to share that they've read or anything like that have helped them think differently? Like, I know reading What Would the Rockefellers Do single-handedly changed my financial practice. And now I'm working with teenagers and their families plan for multiple generations. So I have an estate attorney that I work with who helps those families with their medical directives, power of attorneys, living wills, last will and testament, trust documents, all those things that set you up structure-wise to, one, protect the assets that you currently have, and then two, protect whatever assets you're going to be building in the future from, and a trust, protects from three things: lawsuits, taxes, and family members with bad spending habits, right? So those are the things that help change my financial practice as a financial advisor. Yep. So thank you for sharing all those books. Brother Michael, it's been a long time, man. How are you? Tell us where you're calling from, what you're doing, and your question.
Well, good morning still, and thank you for allowing me to have this conversation. I'll keep it short. I'm calling from Manhattan, where I've been for the last year, but I'll be moving back to Newark. I left something in the chat. I'm coming in to Newark as president of the Newark Rotary. And I don't know if any of you know about the Newark Rotary, but the Rotary is 101.4 million people and 46,000 Rotary clubs all over the world. But in the Newark Rotary, we're really focused on education and economic development. So my request is for help. So if you hear nothing else, just hear that someone ask you to help him. How do we work with any of you to begin to provide guidance and assistance to families and students in Newark around economic development and financial literacy? So obviously we will create financial literacy throughout it. One of the things that I will be coming back to Newark for is to launch my 16-year-olds. I know there are a lot of amazing women on this call, and you are all daughters, so you'll all get this. Something about daughters. We love our sons. We actually work for our daughters. So I'm coming back into Newark to launch my daughter's AI platform, Be the Cause, to work with middle and high school students and young adults to create and be cause in American life as they mature themselves and move into college, workforce development, or employment. My daughter, Lindsay, who is the #2 female teen fencer in the state of New Jersey, and chose only to apply to one school Temple University, which obviously took her, but she apparently knew that because that's who our daughters are. But she created this program to really work with all students, to give all students the equity to create themselves. What I'm trying to do is, inside of that program, create financial literacy, economic development, so that these students, as they begin to go to college, if they want to be on the dorm, be on the dorm, be in the dorm. But buy yourself a single family home in that same city to pay those expenses if you also want to stay inside the dorm and your parents are paying that. So any assistance any of you can give us and how we do that, I've left some information in the chat for you to reach out to me. Again, I met Don when I moved to Newark 4 years ago and joined the Rotary Club. And he has been an amazing asset to me. And so have some of you on this call. So anything we can do to partner to help, we'd appreciate it. And thank you for the time.
Yes, thank you, Brother Michael. Your number is still 1399?
My number is still 1399.
All right, I just sent you a text. You know, I'm in, you know, you said youth, that's all I need to hear. Youth and money, that's what I do. All right,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's so vital, that's so key, is being able to, again, share those resources, leverage resources.
Absolutely.
We have the resources we need in our community already, so we should support one another in all the different ways that we're helping each other build. You know, it's building it, it's growing it, but then y'all, if we're not passing it on the right way, if we build this, you know, $1 million, if Andrew helps us build this $1 million business, Cardwell helps us build this $2 million real estate portfolio, and then we pass it on and the government takes half of it for estate taxes, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point, y'all? We just giving the government a lot of money for what? They didn't work to build this business. They didn't help us. They didn't do these inspections with us. You wasn't with me shooting in the gym. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to protect what we're building, y'all. That's key. We have to protect what we're building so that the government just doesn't come in and snatch up half of it after we're gone. It hurts. That hurts. And then you ain't feeling it because you dead. It's your family, like Chadwick Boseman. His family had no will, no trust, nothing. They paid the government like $1.6 million. For what? To sign some court documents? We already know the government ain't doing what they need to do with the money they got now. Why are we giving them more? Why are we giving them our money? Okay. I'm all with paying taxes, but I just want to pay what my share is. Don't take extra, all right? Don't take extra. Cool. So any other questions? Anyone want to share something that maybe they've been thinking about that was brought up on this call, or something that, you know, maybe you can't sleep at night because this is on your brain? How do I purchase my first property? How do I start that business? How do I turn that idea I have into a business? Any questions about any of that?
Hi, my name is Mary, and I'm living in Florida. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I just started a notary business. I'm LLC. My question is, how would you market your business being new? I am 2 months in, so I'm really new. So my question is about marketing.
Yeah. I'll speak a little bit to that. So one thing I know is that most, from what I understand, and what has been growing my business is Instagram and YouTube Shorts and YouTube videos. That has been bringing in folks left and right that I don't know. People reaching out to me from different states, different countries. I don't know them. All they know is they see this animated guy on the video on Instagram and YouTube, and they're like, I want to work with him. And so, however you can create dynamic, short video, short content, 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds or less, put them out on Instagram, put them out on YouTube, make sure they have the right titles and tags, and people will, because people are searching. Like, I was literally in Atlanta in line at the post office and I searched mobile notary in Atlanta, this lady met me in line at the post office and signed some papers that I needed to open a PO box.
Yes.
And I was glad to pay her 10 times the normal rate because she met me in line standing at the post office. So people are searching for that. You just have to be the one they see when they do the search. Andrew, is anything you want to add?
Yes. So first of all, just for basics, as a business owner, your real job is sales and marketing. So even if you make baskets, you may make baskets, but your business, to be successful, you got to sell and market, and you should be taking at least 2 hours a day. So the first thing is understanding what your most important job is, and that is marketing. Second thing is, given it's so important, you really need to get as knowledgeable and as good about it as possible. So I encourage you to try and learn everything you can about sales and marketing. And keep in mind that generally as a small business, you should be doing the opposite of what large businesses are doing. So just because you see other businesses doing marketing in a certain way, that may not be the way you should be doing it. And, of course, the better you market, the easier it is to sell. And if you get good enough at marketing, you don't have to sell. So that's really the goal. That's going to drive the success of your business everywhere. So now, how do you get good at marketing? What I have, one of the 3 books I have my clients read is the One-Page Marketing Plan, because it's a book directly written for small business owners. It makes it easy, 1 page, sometimes it can be scary, to indulge. And, number 3, it's right on point about what you should be doing. So, I think that that's key. I would also encourage you to check out my book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro, because, I've worked with over 1,000 business owners one-on-one, and, I've seen their challenges and written the book based on that. So it's like things you need to know. But those are a few of the things. I don't want to go too long, but at least wanted to share those. You join the university through the DV network, and you can have access to so many courses I've done on marketing, made them available. So definitely you should be doing as much as you can on marketing.
Yeah.
And lastly, one last thing, you have to plan. Marketing, the real thing about marketing is really a plan. All these other things are tools, but your plan outlines and helps you understand which tools you should use. Instagram's a tool, but there's a lot of other tools out there. So depending on who you are, where you are, what type of business you have, you really got to take it back to the plan. And a lot of people are just out there doing stuff, winging it. So business is about planning, marketing is about planning. You get way better results if you plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
If I can add to that as well, just really briefly, remember.
I just want to say, Tara,
Okay.
Mary, just make sure you're researching what other mobile notaries are doing for marketing, like the successful ones. That's going to be the most recent relevant information you need, is what are other mobile notaries doing. Tara, go ahead.
It was similar, but just remember who you're looking for, who is your target audience, right? So many people will advertise on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, but you may need to go to LinkedIn because a lot of business professionals are on LinkedIn looking for notaries. So you may want to do a different type of approach based on who you're looking for to use your business. That was it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go where your
Appreciate it.
clients are. Go where your clients are, right? We already know if your target market is grandparents, they're probably not on TikTok, y'all. if you're like for teenagers, right? I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm not talking to the teenagers. I'm talking to the people that run youth ministries. I'm talking to the EOP directors. I'm talking to the teachers and the parents, the PTA presidents. So on LinkedIn, I'm talking to the people that are in a position of power to put me and this book in front of young people. So knowing who your target is, your niche market, your target market, and where they are is super helpful. Thank you, Tara. Desiree, where are you calling from? What do you do? And what is your question?
Hello, everyone. Desiree Manning, and I live and work in New Brunswick, New Jersey. My main job is at Rutgers University, and the strike is over, thank God. But I also have a part-time job. I am an independent contractor for an agency that I work for, and I am a behavioral therapist. And my question is, as an independent contractor, should I do an LLC?
That's easy. Go ahead, Carwell.
I'm not sure, based on what she does, should she have an LLC? I'm not the right person to answer that question. Maybe Andrew has an opinion on that one.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you definitely want to talk to a tax advisor, because any of those structures that we set up, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, whatever those are, those affect taxes and the government. And so a tax advisor will let you know how that would affect your daily number keeping and how it'll affect your tax return and all that. So none of us here are tax advisors, but I think all of us here are protected in some way, kind of legally separating us, the individual, from our real estate holdings, our business, our consulting firms. I think all of us have some degree of protection, but that's also specific to your situation. Andrew.
Okay. You probably would either only be a sole proprietor or LLC. Those are the only two that would really make sense if you're an independent contractor. Some people who hire independent contractors require you to be a LLC, so then you would be a LLC. There's a cost to being an LLC, and there's additional complexity to being an LLC. So, the first thing is, are you making enough money for it to make sense? If you're making a couple $1,000s, you might be paying $500 in fees for having an LLC. So, the little bit of risk that you're taking doesn't matter, unless you're doing something that someone's likely to sue you for. So, and I'm always a proponent of, as a business owner, you have to be cheap, or at least frugal. So you don't want to spend any dollar before you have to spend. So you should almost always start out as a sole proprietor, because there's no cost and it's very easy to do. The next step is a single member LLC, which costs a little bit more, gives you a little more protection, but also makes you more formalized. So if someone wants to do business with you, it's another level of professionalism. So so you want to keep that in mind. The taxes of a sole proprietor LLC are exactly the same, pretty much, except for you're just going to fill out some information. Actually, it's exactly the same. You just have to put your LLC tax ID number down as well. So you know, if you need a little protection and you're building into a business, then yeah, LLC, but otherwise the sole proprietor is plenty. But get a tax ID, a separate tax ID if you stay as a sole proprietor, which is free.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's $125 LLC to the state of New Jersey, EIN number is free. If you have an LLC, you have to pay an annual report filing fee of, I think, $75 a year at the end of the year. So there are the costs that he mentioned with that. But of course, you know, your situation is different than all of ours. So definitely, if you have somebody you trust with your taxes, talk to them. Hey, I'm thinking about, I remember my tax guy, when I first started getting paid to speak, I was shocked, so was he, and I said, what should I do? He said, start another LLC. That was his first thing. And so, but that fit my situation. So everybody's situation is different. So definitely seek out some tax advice on that. Dana Wilson, I have worked with Dana at 2 different companies in Newark, Jersey. I'm honored to have you here, Dana. Dana, tell us where you're calling from, what you're doing, and what is your question?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Chike. I am in Edison, New Jersey. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm a little congested here. But anyway, the core of who I am, I'm a grant writer. And I have a for-profit, an LLC, and I also have 2 nonprofits that I'm the executive director of. My LLC, Trinity Support Services LLC, I write grants for other people that need grants. My 2 nonprofits, one is for my church. My husband is a pastor. And I remember Chike saying earlier about, you know, churches should do more with financial literacy. And that's why I recently formed a nonprofit, a CDC, which stands for Community Development Corporation, for the church, Mount Calvary Baptist in Jersey City. And we have plans to do economic development in a number of ways. We've done food pantry stuff. We gave out about 1,000 bags of food. The church owns a house next to the church, and we're looking at getting grant funds to renovate that house. And if you notice, there are a number of churches that can completely change communities. You know, like I know Kaylin knows in the New Brunswick, Franklin, Somerset County area that when Buster Soares was the head of Lincoln Gardens, which is a pretty large church in Central Jersey, First Baptist of Lincoln Gardens, that he did a tremendous job in helping to revitalize that corridor in terms of building senior housing and all kinds of different things. And so in actuality, it was a pastor that led me to think like that. Long time ago, when I went, my husband was doing like an internship at a church. He was like, oh, there's this dynamic preacher, and I want to see him. And I said, okay. And I went with him, and this preacher was talking about all of these things that he was doing in the community, all kinds of economic development. And I said, well, how are you doing this? And he told me grants. And it turns out that this pastor that I talked to, it was Jeremiah Wright, who was President Obama's pastor. And, you know, this is before any controversy that came up, but I just was like, wow, this is a dynamic pastor who's doing great things in the Chicago area. And that inspired me to think bigger than just working for one individual nonprofit, that I needed to think about changing communities. And so Chike talked about, you know, that we work together, and I wrote a lot of grants to help revitalize Newark you know, and so that was in line with that kind of thinking. And now I'm trying to also, the other nonprofit that I have is the National Educational Network, Inc., or NENI for short. And I'm very interested in financial literacy. And so that's why I'm here today. My plan is to get grant funding to provide financial literacy programs and work with people such as the people that are on stage. And I know some other individuals. And so that's where I'm going with this. And also another thing that I wanted to mention to you that you could sign up for free. Two of the programs that my nonprofit runs, free information. The first one is called Grants for Newbies, and I'll post it in the chat in a few minutes. Grants for Newbies is a Facebook group, and I post grants for for-profits, nonprofits. I also post college scholarship information, home ownership grants. So it's not just one type of grant that I put in there. It's a large variety. And the other free resource is, it's called Living While Black USA. And I created that when George Floyd was killed. And I couldn't be out there marching like others. So I said, I want to do something. And so I wanted to have a way for us to connect. And so that's how it started, but it's kind of evolved since then, kind of like the good, bad, and ugly of Black life. And people have posted all kinds of things about their business and Black inventors and Black history and all kinds of different things. So those are two free resources, and I will post them in the chat. Anybody that wants to connect with me, I will put my contact information in there as well. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you. Thank you. And I can vouch for Dana that she has written a lot of grants for two specific companies, entities that I can think of that are nonprofit. One was the CDFI, a community development financial institution called Greater Newark Enterprises Corporation. And a lot of the work we did was through grants. Thank you to Dana. And that when my time at Invest Newark, as the head of entrepreneurship and small business development, the CEO at the time had actually asked me if I knew Dana and if I think they should bring her on. And I said, hell yeah, pardon my French, because I know that she has the skills to pay the bill. All right, so if you have some sort of nonprofit or entity and you are looking for money from grants, those things are not easy to write. And you may only have one shot to submit a grant application. So make sure you do it right. And I know Dana will be able to help you do it right, get the money. So thank you for being on and sharing those resources, Dana. We appreciate you. Any other questions, thoughts? I'm gonna shout somebody out because I haven't seen her in a while. Hey, Medina. I would love to know if you have anything to add to the conversation, Medina. If not, it's totally okay. I know I shouted you out. Anyone else have any questions about any of the stuff we're talking about, building it, passing it on, protecting it, ensuring our prosperity, our legacy, anything?
Hey, Chike. Thanks for the shout out.
What's up? Where you calling in from?
I'm in Jersey right now, but this was a phenomenal conversation. Definitely one that's definitely necessary. Very pertinent, valuable gems that were shared. So thank you so much to everyone. I really appreciate it.
It's all Don's fault. It's all Don's fault, right? It's Don's fault that we're all here, all right? So
He's wonderful.
Yes. Anyone else, anything to share? Anyone have a business they would like to talk about, what they're doing, who they're helping? Robin, are you ready to say something, Robin?
I am. I have two questions. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. Really good information, and it's sparked some things that I need to focus on. I especially like Chike, your focus on teens, and I am going to look in the chat for how to what you focus on, but that's such a good thing for teens. I didn't really have much talk about money. My parents, or my dad in particular, was a serious saver. I had a piggy bank, and I just knew he never bought a new car until he was close to 70. And he just truly believed in savings bonds, and he explained to my sister and I where he had put his savings, and both of us, as a result of his savings, I went to grad school at Northwestern because of him. Didn't have lots to pay for that experience, and so anyway, I would just like to say, share one thing with everyone, particularly you, Chike. You mentioned the Tiffany Aliche, the Budgetnista author, and her emphasis on saving money. One of the areas I handle is legislation, watching legislation, but it's not on the money side. But I happen to know in New Jersey that the Budgetnista now has, there was a bill that was introduced that now commands that better financial discussions take place in New Jersey.
Yep, for kids, absolutely.
And so I just wanted to encourage everyone to remember the power of legislators, get to know your legislators. I've seen some amazing, like, what, how did that happen? It's, behind the scenes, it's stuff that happens before a bill is introduced. That's when you got to start paying attention and getting out there in your Rotary clubs and your other venues, because boy, we're not at the table in a lot of instances.
Right.
I just
We're on
want
the
to
menu.
go ahead.
I was saying we're not at the table. We're on the menu. Unfortunately.
Right. I did have a question too about life insurance. It's something I've often heard that it's not necessarily the smartest thing to do, particularly if you don't have a lot of family assets to protect. I'm single, I don't have kids. I do have 4 godchildren, lots of nephews that I do want to, make sure they're taken care of. But I've often wondered what's the best way to figure out a life insurance policy, and whether it's really the best investment. I've heard it said, if it's not something, unless you have a lot of assets or whatever, it may not be the most protection.
Yeah, there's many different schools of thought on it. Andrew mentioned it, he got his first policy at like 20 something or 30 something. I know my first policy was at 20 something years old. And, there's 2 types. There's the type that is like your car insurance or your cell phone insurance, that it only pays out if someone dies, right? But then there's the other kind that is 2 parts. There's the part that you get to utilize when you're alive, which is the cash value that Andrew spoke about. That money can be taken out of the policy without any questions asked, without any tax form filled out, and without any sort of, do I gotta pay this back or not, right? And then it also has the aspect where when you pass away, the the death benefit goes to your beneficiary. So one thing I can say is that in the book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? It's only been through cash value life insurance and trust that the Rockefeller family has been able to ensure the continuation of their family money. It's only been through cash value life insurance, not term insurance, okay? And two, my first, my first good financial job was at New York Life Insurance Company in Edison, New Jersey, right by Metro Park train station. And the one thing I can say about life insurance is that if you ever try to sell to an Indian person or a Jewish person anything that's not cash value life insurance, they will run away, right? Because they see the value of cash value life insurance, not only in giving you supplemental retirement income, but also if you start it for a grandchild early enough, they'll be able to have a college fund, a first home fund, start a business fund. And the thing about it is, it's different because there's no tax forms that you ever have to say how much you're putting into your life insurance. There's no tax forms that say you have to say how much money am I getting in dividends from my mutual, insurance company policy, right? And so it's a way to add to the list of assets that you have in a way that really gives you the value, and you're not giving away that value. So if, for instance, I open up a lot of Roth IRAs for minors. And the challenge with a Roth IRA, as great as it is for starting it for a grandchild, is that if they do want that money for college or for anything like that, yeah, they can take it out of the Roth without the 10% penalty. But the point of a Roth is to have tax-free money. And if they take it out before they're age 59 and a half, they have to pay taxes on that money, even if it's for one of those three reasons. So I tell people, you should have a couple different buckets. You should have the emergency savings bucket, right, which you can access easily. You should have the short-term travel plans or vacation fund, right? But then you should also have the bucket of money that it grows tax deferred, you can take it out tax-free, and there's no penalties and there's no limits on how much you can put in, right? And that's tax value life insurance. And then have a retirement account, hopefully one that you will not have to pay taxes on later on in life, right? And so you have to have a couple different things. There's no one way to build wealth, and that's why I took the word wealth and I broke it down to the acronym, right? So entrepreneurship, life insurance, investment, and home ownership and real estate. There's no one way to build wealth. And when you diversify your portfolio, like Kara just said in the comments, right, you're now creating different buckets of money that at any given time, you can pick and choose which money you want. If taxes are high, you don't have to pull out of your 401k. But if you're 72 and a half, you eventually will have to start to pull out of your 401k. But you can pull out of your cash value life insurance. You can pull out of your retail brokerage account. You can pull out of your Roth IRA. You can pull out of this bucket if you have those buckets. So I would say, initially for your grandkid, having a cash value life insurance policy at a young age, because insurance is based on mainly your age. So they'll never be younger than they are today. So getting a life insurance policy for them is helping their future family, but it's also helping them create that bucket of money that they take it out tax-free without having to worry about anything. And they can take it for college, for retirement, for their first home, to start a business, whatever it is. So I hope that helps.
Yes.
Can I add to that? Everyone should have life insurance, a minimum, because you want to be able to pay for your death. And so you probably need 10 to 20,000 at a minimum for that, regardless. Like Chike said, there's different strategies, but life insurance is part of a sound financial plan. If you're going to have a business, if you're going to go get a loan, you're going to need to have life insurance. So they're going to make you buy it if you're going to do a significant business loan. And then it'll be more expensive because you're older. So, definitely, those are some considerations that you should think of. And, I guess, with the grain of salt, a lot of people that you may work, probably everyone works with someone that's a little bit incompetent. So keep in mind that there's financial advisors out there that are incompetent. There's real estate investors out there that are incompetent. There's people who help business owners that are incompetent. And then most people are average. So many of them are okay. So you need to talk to multiple people. You need to come up with your own choice. And you should know something about what you're talking to anyone who's giving you advice. So just some rules of thumb.
Yeah, I believe NerdWallet, nerdwallet.com is a great source to just Google terms and pieces and things like that, help with preparing yourself to talk to these professionals.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. Shadira?
In a way, you guys already answered the question that I had. I was just thinking like Robin in terms of the children in my family, like how to get them started with being more, having those conversations about finances and like thinking of getting them in the mindset of like little businesses or little things that they could do to start making money, and then also transition into how they could start saving that money for when they really are going to need it for when they're older. So I think, like you said about getting life insurance, that's the conversations I could have with them. But I guess also if you guys have any more ideas in perspective of getting children ready to have money. Because it's one thing to always want wealth and want money, but then there's another thing about being educated on what it is to actually have property or have savings and those conversations.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be a shameless plug and say get them the Teen's Guide to Wealth, because that's a resource that will help them understand what it is that builds wealth. But it's broken down to them, even with the terminology that they can understand, they can get it. And it's interactive, it's self-paced, and I just put the link in the chat. But I do believe that the resource, I mean, I have counties and schools that are buying a bunch of them because they know that these young kids need to have some sort of resource at their fingertips that they can, read and write and recall and retell and talk to adults in their life about it, things like that. So. And someone did put something else in the chat as well, Michelle Singletary. I actually did a Zoom with her about, if there's a will, there's a way. And we talked about legacy planning and all that. So I know she's a great resource. Thank you, Doreen.
Oh, one more thing. I wanted to ask that you all put your books in the chat so that I could, know what the title of your book is. So I can pick it up.
All right. Actually,
I think Andrew did that, right?
Actually, I'm putting them all on the community. So I've got a page of recommended books with links. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah. And mine's in there too. Dana?
Hi, I just wanted to mention, I'm gonna put it in the chat. There's a really interesting New York Times article that came out a few years ago, like right before COVID. And it's really interesting because it talks about generational wealth, and it's an interactive article. So you can actually see this visual that shows that if you make good money, your child is less likely to make as much as you, especially if it's a Black male child. And so that was just like an eye-opener for me, because it made me think about my son, and you know, a lot of it has to do with, like you said, like having insurance and other things, and having property to leave to your children. And, you know, there's a gap there. So that's an important piece of this puzzle, is that not only do we need to worry about building our businesses, but we need to be able to pass it on to our children so that they can have a head start on being successful. My father died early. He was only 64. Fortunately, right before he died, he started having conversations with me about starting a business. And I did start my LLC the year after he died. You know, we had conversations about what's the difference between an S Corp and an LLC and this and that. And I'm thankful for the time that I did have with my father. I wish I had more time, you know, once I had started my business, to say, okay, now what, you know. I had to kind of figure some things out. But I wish I had started those conversations even earlier. And so it's a sense of, you know, my father was a financial genius, and I worked for him for a number of years. He tried to pass things on to me that way, but to ask the specific questions that I needed, I wish that I had started talking to him much earlier. And so I think that's another problem, is that if the parents don't have the information, then they don't know how to pass it on to their children, because they don't have the information themselves. And so if the parents don't have the information, they have to put their children with people like, you know, people here on this panel that could say, hey, here's some information to get you going for your business. And I'll just leave this one last example. I was in business since 2008 for my LLC. I did not think about business credit. I didn't really have a lot of expenses because I'm a grant writer. I write from home. So I really didn't think very much about business credit. After being on Clubhouse, which is a social media platform, I learned the importance of business credit. And to my horror, I found out that there were all kinds of errors on my business credit report. And so their scores are different than personal credit. It's like goes up to like 100. And my score was like a 30 something because there were errors on there. It had me down as a new business instead of a well-established business. It had me down as a restaurant, which is considered a high-risk business. And after I cleaned those things up, my score jumped to a 90 out of 100. And I'm like, man, I could have been getting business credit and all these things a long time ago had I known, you know. And so my suggestion to all of you is to find out what your business score is. There's something called a Paydex score, and you need to have established accounts with vendors to build that Paydex score, like getting a Staples account and things like that. I'm going to put something in the chat called NAV. And NAV is an account where it will tell you every month what your score is. And there's different kind of scores, and it's a really good resource. And the NAV account can count as one of these things to build your credit. You have to have like 3 or 4 vendors, and NAV will count as one of them. So those are my tips for the day.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for sharing all that. So, you know, if you want to copy the chat and I think you can copy chat to see all the different things that people are posting in. There's a lot of good stuff in there. So I'm gonna pass it over to Kaylin, and I'm gonna jump over to my mobile because I gotta get going. I'm still.
Thank you so much, Chikwe. And I just want to check in. We have just a few more minutes left before we move on. I want to say thank you for lighting up the chat, because there's a lot of great resources in there for everyone to enjoy. I'm going to eventually turn it over to Don for some parting words. And Andrew, this might be a good time to highlight. I know you have a screen with some future webcast dates. We're planning out for the rest of the year. We definitely want you to join us and come back and continue giving information and sharing information. And, I just really want to thank Chike, as well as, Tara and Cardwell, and of course, Andrew too, for hosting. This is a platform for doing exactly what you are doing today. Those of you who have shared resources in the future, please continue to bring what it is that you do. Again, we really set this up for the purpose of being able to pour into you, to be able to share with you in hopes that you will continue to thrive. So under that umbrella of a theme that we had called Be the Captain of Your Own Vessel, you see here, Securing Our Legacy Through Ujamaa is the theme for this entire year. In June, you see, we'll be talking about financial planning, more on real estate in September, and entrepreneurship towards the end of the year. And so with that said, it is my extreme pleasure to be here with you. It is an honor to be able to work side by side with the members of the DV Connector Network to present this webcast. And with that said, I will turn it over to the founder of the DV Connector Network, none other than Don Biapri. Don?
Thank you very much, Kaylin, and thanks again to Andrew and to Tara, and also to Cardwell, and also to Chike. I really think and know that the discussion that we had today was not just exciting, but it was thoroughly informative. This is exactly what we wanted to do, is to allow folks to communicate, to ask questions, and to begin to lift themselves by lifting also others with them. Because the more that we can lift ourselves forward, is the more we'll be able to take others with us as we move forward. In closing, I want to wrap it up by using one phrase that I've always used. The more you know is the more you grow. The more you know is the more you grow. We're leaving here today knowing much more than when we came into the virtual living room. We have more knowledge. We have more connectivity. We have just expanded our networks with each other, because you can find and receive any contact information of anyone that you want to further your communications with through this vehicle. We also have had discussions on the blueprint, understanding what it is that you need to do in order to move forward, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in IRAs, whether it's in taxes, whether it's in financial planning, whether it's in specific funds, whether it's in savings. But you've got a toolbox that you can utilize and expand upon. But by all means, when you don't know, ask the question. Find somebody, ask the question, ask another question, and ask the same question to a second person to get a second opinion. Find out all that you can in order to get grounded, to get really saturated with the content that you need to have in order to make a decision. Because by making such decision, you're going to be able to realize exactly what it is that you have to do. There are a few things that you must realize that in this journey that we have to make and that we are making until we close our eyes, we have a undying responsibility that was left for us by our ancestors to take care of the children and to take care of those yet to be born. So the legacy that we must try to foster, that the seed that we must try to plant, is for a tree whose shades that we know we don't intend to live and sit under, because that tree is for those who are yet to come. So it behooves us to get the best that we can, to know the most that we can, in order to be able to plant this tree, to make sure it has roots, to make sure that the roots are deep so that it could stand any force of nature, to make sure that the roots are spread also horizontally so that it can touch other trees. And I want to also recall something that Frederick Douglass had said: without a struggle, there can be no progress. Nothing is necessarily easy. It demands work, it demands organization, it demands planning, and then it demands execution. Without a struggle, there can be no progress. And as I said before, we expect resistance, always expect resistance. But as Claude McKay says, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. We must always have a strategy in order to fight back. And remember what some of the lyrics that I recall James Brown said when he said, "Open the door. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door, I'll get it myself." Open up the door and get it myself. If you can't open the door, find somebody who has the key who can help you open up that door. This is not the time to hold back. This is the time to open up and move forward. Because it's another piece of lyrics from a song that we all know. Them that's have shall, them that's got shall have, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible said, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that has its own. Thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you in the next webinar. Have a great and wonderful day and rest of your life.